Well, welcome back, guys. As you can see, I have this downloaded, the Torchmate EDU student version. I'm just going to double click on it, and it's just going to take and pop this window open. We'll just put it up here to full screen, and there we are. Now, there's some things that we're going to have to do here right at the beginning, and you may or may not have to do this, depending on if somebody has done it before you, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it anyway. What we're going to do is come up here and click on our little drop-down menus, and we're going to go to Layout. And what we're going to do is drop down here to Material Size. We click on this, and we want to make sure that we're running 48 by 48 inches. And we're going to just lock those dimensions in place. Now, the reason we're doing this is because this right here is the limits of our machine. Our machine will cut about a 48 by 48 piece of material. Now, it'll actually go a little bit more than that, but I found putting 48 by 48 on it is really the best way to run it. So we want to make sure that that is locked in place. And what that does is put this box here on the screen. Now this box is just a representation of the table itself. And it gives you an idea, so if you try to take and make an object, and this object is larger than that box, then you know it's not going to fit on the table. All tables have size limitations, same as anybody. So we want to make sure any parts that we build fit within this square. We're not going to be building parts normally this large. We just don't have any need to. Well, most of our parts you're going to zoom in here a bit, and then we're going to take and make smaller. All right, let's move forward here. What I want to do is to take and show you guys a little bit about the software. What I'm doing here, you guys can see I'm going in and out, I'm zooming in, and this will zoom in wherever the mouse is. And how I'm doing this is with the wheel on the mouse, just with my pointer finger here. So I can take and move this around and adjust it. And you can see when I get far enough out, I lose my guidelines. If I go in here a little closer, you can see the actual grid lines, I should say. Now, there's several various buttons here on the left-hand side. First one is just your select tool, which is where you primarily are. We have our measure tool, which we use every once in a while. Text tool, which we'll talk about later. Zoom tool, if you want to do it that way. You could also zoom with these tools. We have our weld tools. These ones here we'll talk about. There's just 3 of them. We're going to mostly use the basic weld. Next is our shape tools. We can make a wide range of various shapes. We have our sketch tools. This one here is actually when we pull in another image, so it's scan tools, I believe. And we have some other various tools that I'm not going to worry about right now. It's not super relevant to what we're doing. So really what I want to take and start with here is the shape tools. And we're going to do this. We could pick some various shapes. We're going to start with a circle. Now, I want to make sure that you guys are paying attention here, because this right here, what I'm about to show you guys, is going to be your very first assignment. And with this assignment, you're going to need to actually turn this in. Make sure that you guys follow along so you guys can actually turn in this assignment. Now I'm going to drop down here to the corner of 0, 0, and I'm going to just draw myself a circle. Now with this circle, as it is right now, you can see kind of a little triangular shape here in the middle, and it's got a square shape here on the outside. And if we look up top here, I can take and have a few settings. This right here is the very first form that this comes in. And this allows me to specify where I want this center of the circle to be. So if I want this to be at 0, 0, and there you go, the center of the circle is now at 0, 0. Now if I want this to be at, oh, I don't know, 10, 10. There we go. So now the center of this circle is at line 10, line 10. So X is 10, Y is 10. And then what I'm going to do is take and specify out my radius. Remember, this is not the diameter, this is the radius. And I'm going to specify that as 5 inches. Now, if we take a look at this, we'll just take and click off of it. It now highlights an object. Now, if I double click on this, I can go back and I can adjust. We're going to go down, let's do 5 and 5. There we go. Kind of zoom in here a little bit. I'm just going to click on the outside space out here and it'll highlight my object. Now with this selected, you guys can see I have a whole bunch of range of settings here. So if I don't have it selected, well, it still gives me the settings, but there's no values. But if I take and select this object, draw a box around it, or if I click on it, it'll select this object and then I can take and look at it. Now, our first one here is our X and our Y. Now, if we look right over here on these small little boxes, by selecting a different one, I'm telling this to look at the X, Y coordinate for a particular spot on this object. So right now I have it selected on the bottom left, and that particular point is at X and Y of 0. So right here is 0, 0. If I select the furthest point away from it, that point's going to be out here, which is going to be 10 by 10 inches. So if we select the center of it, then we can see it's 5 inches. Since this one is on the 0x and 0y, and we know that this particular circle has a radius of 5 inches, then it would make sense for the center here to be at 5 inches by 5 inches. Now with this, we could take and change these dimensions if I wanted to change the location of this object. So I could go with 10 and I could go with 10, and it'll move the center of this object to 10, 10. Or if I took and I picked this point and I changed this to 0 and 0, it would put it back to where it was at this point down here at 0, 0. Now I can also take and change the dimensions of this object. And there's a quick note here, is we have this little padlock. So by locking this padlock, if I change one dimension, it changes the other dimension. So if I change the width of this to 12, it automatically changes the height of the object to 12 as well. But if I take then and deselect this here and unlock it, if I take this and change it back to 10, it now gives us an oval, and it keeps the other one here at 12. So I'd have to manually change this one back to 10 as well. Let's relock this. If I change this one here to 8, changes the other one to 8. If I change this one to 10, it changes the other one back to 10. Let's take this circle here, and what I want to show you guys is, notice here that the circle is black. Now we can, if we wanted to, change the colors onto this circle. I will say I mostly just stick with black, so we can basically see the different layers. But black is really good for me, that's perfectly fine. But I do want to show you guys this. If we go up to View, and we have the Show Fill, or Alt-S, it'll actually remove that and we'll see just the outline of the object. And I can take and do the Alt-S and I can put that back. Now what I'm going to do here is Alt S, and I'm going to get rid of the fill, so we can take and make another object here to continue on with the actual assignment. Now I'm going to make the radius of this circle about 1 inch for no particular reason. What we can do is move this inside of there. Now when we do this, notice here guys that if I turn on the fill, that inside circle basically disappears. I mean, it's still there. I can highlight it, but you can't really see it. So I'm going to leave the fill off so I can see it. Now with this circle, let's move it out here where I can actually work with it. So if we take this circle here, I can do all the same adjustments and everything out here. But what I want to show you guys is we can actually go up here. There it is. In Edit, and we can actually duplicate this. Now we can take and duplicate this, or we'll delete that. If I hit Control D, it'll also duplicate it as well. Now with this, I can take these particular circles here and align them in different ways. So I can go to, you can go to Size Remove, you can go to Range, Distribute. So let's go to Arrange and Distribute. And what we're going to do is align to last object. So whatever the last object that was selected, we can take and actually align these basically to that last object. Now we're going to take these ones here and we can center them horizontally. If you notice, the one moves up a little bit. So let me show that a little more dramatically. So let's just select both of these. And we're going to lie them horizontally. And there we go. Now if I take and move this one back down here, select those. I can also align them vertically. And you could use E or C to accomplish this as well. If I were to select these, I could take and hit E, and it'll align them horizontally. Now I'm going to take this object, we're going to move it closer in here. It's not super critical where it is, but I am going to take and hit E again and align them horizontally. We're just going to move those down into here. Now what's cool about this, if I want these to actually be centered, see right now they're all skewed, so I can incorporate the large circle into this. Now I already have my small circles here together. And what I want to do is to keep them in alignment. I don't want them to move. So what I'm going to do, with each other, I want them to stay in alignment with each other. So I'm going to go up here to Layout, and I'm going to group these objects together. By grouping these objects together, now when I select one of them, it selects the other one as well. Now by doing this, it's going to treat this as one object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to click on the large circle, and now I have all my objects selected. Because if I already have these selected, if I just click on this big circle, it just selects the big circle, not the little circle. So I need to select everything, so I can either one, draw a box around it all, or I can hold the Shift key and click on that, and now I've selected. Now notice how I've selected my large circle last, which means that that is the last object selected. So if I take and actually go up here to align to last object, I can center them vertically, and then there we go. Now they're all centered and aligned with each other, since it treats this as one object. Now what I want to do here, if you guys haven't figured this one out yet, I'm actually working on a little smiley face. And that's going to be our first assignment here. What I want to do is to take and create the mouth. I'm just going to draw a circle that just kind of fits in there. I need to take this circle and make it into a mouth. the way that I do this is to simply just take this circle. Remember, if we double click on it, it just allows me to adjust the radius. I don't need that. So what I want to do is to take this circle while it's selected, just regular old selected, all the points around it. And I'm going to go up here to arrange, and I'm going to break the path on it. Now when I break the path, it's not going to really show anything. But if I take this and double click on it, it allows me to edit the nodes. Now these right here are the nodes that actually make up the object. So how this actually does is it has a whole bunch of points. And it actually has a bit of a curve between them, and that's what actually makes us our circle. Now I could just take and select some of these, and we can really do whatever we want with them. So we could grab these and move them over if that's what we wanted, or we could simply just delete them. Now if I delete them, I'm getting more of a half circle, but I want you guys to notice here that if we look down here in the corner, this circle here is kind of based on a radius, and I don't really want that. I want this to be a hard corner. So what I'm going to do is put my mouse right over the top of this, and I'm going to click and hold the right mouse button. Now there's lots of settings in here, but we're not going to get to all of those at the moment. What I want is this little plus sign, and that's going to give me a hard corner. Now, if I didn't want that, I could take and hold and hit the circle, and then it'll run it off a radius. But I want to click and I want to do the plus, so it's a hard corner. And we'll do this with the other side here as well. Once I'm done, I can hit apply up top. And there we go. Here's our new object. What I'm going to do with this is just take this object and put it right there. And I'm going to take and select, one, my smile here, and two, the outside circle. And since the outside circle is the last one to be selected, I can go to my align to last object, and I can align them vertically. There we go, now it's all centered. Now if I go Alt-S and show the fill on it here again, you can see there's nothing there. So it's all just over top of each other. The objects are there, but they're all black. You can't see them. So what I want to do is to take and pop these out. I want my eyes on my mouth to be empty space. So what I'm going to do is highlight all of it. And I'm going to go up here to arrange. And what I'm going to do is make a path. When I make a path, it will pop out the eyes and the mouth. Now guys, this right here is your very first assignment. I want you guys to take and make a smiley face. There's a few more steps here that I really want to take and show you guys, and this is going to be how to turn in this object. I'm going to take and stop here. I'll see you guys here in just a second, and I'm going to show you guys how to turn in this assignment.